Hello and welcome to a video on circumference. We are still talking about parts of a circle, and so we're going to write some notes today and do some examples on circumference. So the definition for circumference would be the distance around the outside of the circle. That would also be known as the perimeter of a circle. So to go back and review from yesterday, we talked about if we are going from one outside point to another outside point crossing through the center, that is our diameter. If we are going from a center point to any outside point on our circle, that is our radius. And then around the outside of your circle is going to be your circumference. All right. So the formula for circumference is going to equal, and I'm going to give you two formulas. The first is 2 pi r, and that's 2 times pi times radius. The one that I will use more likely is pi times diameter. This to me is the simpler of our options, and hopefully you've learned by now that I prefer the simplest route. All right, so what is pi? I'm sure some of you have heard of pi before. So pi is pi. This is not pie that you eat. However, we do normally celebrate Pi Day on March the 14th. And we'll just cross our fingers that we are together by then, and we can do that. This is your symbol for pi. Okay. The reason that we celebrate Pi Day on March the 14th is because pi is known as 3.141592653, and I could go on and on and on from there, but I'm going to stop. All right, because pi is a number that never ends. It's an irrational number that is infinite. It never stops, okay? The actual definition for pi is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. So anytime that we know the diameter of a circle, meaning anytime that we know the measure from one outside point through the center to another outside point, anytime that we know this measurement, we can multiply that number by pi, and we will then be given the measure for the outside, all the way the outside around your circle, which is pretty crazy to think about. It's really hard to measure a circle by finding its circumference with just like a tape measure or a ruler. It'd be really hard to measure around the outside of a circle. So luckily for math, we can just measure across the circle, find the diameter, and multiply it by pi, and from there we would know what the measure all the way around the outside of the circle is. When we are in math working with pi, we would use the shortened version of pi. We're obviously not going to use this crazy long number. We would just use 3.14. The other thing that you can use is the fractional version of this, which would be 22/7. For our purposes, though, we are mostly going to use 3.14, okay? If you have a pi button available on your calculator, then that's going to be a great thing for you to use. So let's do some examples. Let's solve some problems finding the circumference of some circles. All right, so here's a circle I'm given, and I'm given this measure here, and I'm told this is 6 inches, okay? And what I need to do is I need to find the circumference. Okay, I know that the formula for circumference is pi times diameter, and for this particular problem, I'm given the radius, which means I need to figure out, the way I'm solving this, I need to figure out what the diameter is. So I know that if the radius is 6, that means that the diameter is going to be 12. So I'm going to simply do 12 times 3.14, or 12, if you're using a calculator, which you can do, times pi. Okay, when I type that into my calculator, I'm going to get a number with a pretty long decimal, and I'm just going to go ahead and round that to the nearest hundredth. And I'm going to say 37.70, and that is going to be inches. Okay, because that's my measurement there. There we go. Example 1 is done. All right, another one here. This time, let's take a look. I'm going to be given a different measurement. This time I'm going to be given the diameter. So again, the formula is pi times diameter. So that means I'm going to take the diameter, which in this case is 15, and I'm going to multiply that by 3.14, or I'm going to multiply that by pi if I'm using a calculator that has that button. And that's going to give me 47 1/10 feet. All right, for the next 2 examples, I'd like you to pause these one problem at a time and see if you can get these right. So for this one, I'm going to give you the diameter, which is 10 centimeters. I'm going to remind myself again of the formula. And then I also want you to solve the second one, which is 4 inches. Again, working with pi times diameter. If you would pause the video now and try that. All right, so we should have 10 times 3.14, or 10 times pi if you have that button available to you, which is going to give you 31 4/10 centimeters. You'll notice I'm not squaring this measure. This is not area. We will get to area, but you do not need to square your measure. All right, the last one, it gives me the radius is 4. I need to find the diameter. I know then I need to double 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to do 8 times 3.14, or 8 times pi. And that is going to give me 25 12/100 inches as my circumference. This is a video you can watch as many times as you need. If this does not make complete sense to you, I recommend that you watch it again. And if it does make sense, then you can move on with your work for today.